Moving on, let us now talk a different sport. It is simply known as a sport of threes, and that's why I've got this ball here. If you were to pick this ball, ideally, you would identify this ball with handball, but it's a non-contact sport. They call it the game of threes. Tchoukball in Kenya. Very interesting because of the number of sports that are coming into this country. And in studio with me on my immediate left, we've got the acting Secretary General of the Kenya Tchoukball Federation, Githaiga. Caroline, thank you and welcome for being with us here.
Thank you very much.
And we've got a coach and referee of the sport, Brian Muchanga. Brian, welcome.
Thank you so much.
All right, so I'll start with this the history of this game with an interesting name, Tchoukball. It's there. All right, start with you, Caroline.
Daniel, thank you very much for inviting us today, and we are here to discuss the sport of Tchoukball. My name is Caroline Wangari. I'm the acting SG for Kenya Tchoukball Federation, a referee and also a coach for the same. I've trained as a coach with International Tchoukball Federation, as well as my refereeing course. So Tchoukball is a sport of three, a sport that was developed by a Swiss biologist called Hamas Brandt. For him to develop this sport, he was looking at a sport that had limited injury experience in the sport, because even for him, he was a sportsman, but went out of sports because of injuries. Now, for him this time, he was looking for a sport that people can have fun, people can play without getting injured. And that's how he came up with the sport of Tchoukball. Tchoukball has the same concept as handball. The difference is the fact that it has zero contact, the type of frame used, the number of players. That is what differentiates the sport from handball. Yes. All right,
coming to you. I mean, you can now pick it up from there. Let's now, first of all, talk, because I've seen this ball has got an indication here, size 2. Tell us why. I mean, the difference, because we've also seen the same with football. There's a size 3 ball, a size 4 ball, that.
Thank you, Wahome. And for a size 2 is for ladies. Then there's a size 3 for men. And it goes with the age and the size. The age go with the size of the ball. So different ages go with different sizes of the ball. And also the female and the men. Yeah.
All right, so it's backgrounding. It's size 1, size 2, size 3. Talk about at what age do you then blood somebody who's getting into Tchoukball?
Okay, so for maybe, let's say, young teens, maybe from 15 to lower, they go with a size 1. Then as they go, they upgrade to a size 2. Then after maybe they are like the adults now, they can use a size 3. Yeah.
All right. The women stick with size 2. A story behind it.
I know most men have a wide palm. So you having a wide palm, make sure you know this ball, you have to have a grip on it.
So basically how I'm holding it.
Yeah. You have to hold it nicely so that it cannot fall. So that when you throw it, the other one can touch it nicely also. So yeah.
All right. Now, having got that, as your players and coaches, then take us through the whole process of playing this game, because it's a zero contact sport.
Yeah. So particularly for this game of Tchoukball, it picks about 3 aspects of. You can use the aspects of volleyball, you can use the aspects of handball, and also basketball in the sense that you're running. So it's a game of threes. And the threes mean 3 seconds on the ball, 3 passes, 3, you can only move 3 steps. So when you get the ball, you count 1, 2, 3, then you're supposed to release the ball. And then you're supposed to shoot on the same frame 3 times when, after the 3rd time, you're supposed to go to the other frame. And it's a very interesting game because a defender can turn to an attacker at any time.
Okay, let me just get this. The frame, because we've got the pictures here, is basically that goal. Yeah. It's a box with that net. So here's the thing. After 3 passes, I try shoot at the nearest frame to me. Yeah. Then,
okay, let me begin first. When the ball begins from the back of the frame, it has to pass the center line. After it passes the center line, now the person at the center has to decide which frame ni wapi ma defenders wamelegeza. So which frame is easier to score. So he or she can decide to go in front or back where the ball is coming from. From there, when you attack, when you just throw, it hits the frame and then it rebounds from the net. Now the work of the defenders is to catch the ball. Now here we call it a game of angles. You have to know a good angle that you can score in. So particularly, let's say you can even score in a zero angle. Particularly, the frame is here and you're here. There's a forbidden line. Now you're not supposed to enter.
Okay, just looking at the pictures where we see something like the cones. Yeah. That's a forbidden line.
Yes.
Inside is a forbidden line.
Area.
Yeah.
A forbidden area.
Yeah.
Yes.
And actually it's 3 meters from the frame. So if you want to score, you have to pass. Before the line, you have to jump. You make 3 steps. You jump. After jumping, you have to hit the ball in a particular way that the ball is not the defenders are not able to catch the ball. So yeah.
All right, because now we can see that demonstration, and so look for it. The defenders. So now, once the defenders catch the ball, what's the next move?
So they can score.
Right at that frame.
At the same frame. Yes. Now that's the beauty of the sport. Once the attacker tries to score and they don't manage to score, the defenders hold the ball. The defender can as well just score on the same, as long as it has not passed 3 goals on the same frame, they can score. Okay,
bring us back 3 goals on the same frame.
On the frame, you can't score more than 3 times. Because each team doesn't have a specific frame. You can score anywhere. But now, for every frame, you can only score 3 times. The 4th time, you should go to another frame.
So that is for every attacking move that you make.
Yeah.
Yes.
That means you're only allowed 3 goals at one frame at any one point. If you want the 4th.
Actually, no. It's any team. Both teams can score in any frame. A player can score in each frame that he wants. Now, if particularly you've gone on the upper frame, you're not supposed to, after 3 scores on the same frame, you're supposed to change the ball. And if they try to score on the 4th, as a referee, you blow the whistle, and now it's a foul. They have to now start a ball from there, and then now it has to start with the other team, the defending team now. So yeah.
And which means that now the flow of the game will say from the frame on the right to the one on the left, so that now the scoring can happen there.
Yeah.
Okay, now moving on. The quick basics required for one to play this game.
Quick basics. It's a very interesting game in the such that even someone at 40, someone at 50 can play the game, because it's a non-contact game, and from maybe ages of maybe 5, they can start gaining the basics. So I don't think we can, as long as you can be mobile, you can play the game.
How much running is involved? I mean, because with age comes a loss of speed.
So based on the field is 27 meters to 15.
That's a standard handball court, ideally.
Yes.
Yeah. So, and then it requires about 7 players. So from the 7 players, you're able to say, let's say you have 2 shooters, and then 2 people at the middle, then 2 at the back, then 1 at the center, the one who controls the ball. But you can change the formation at any time. You attack with 3 and then 1, because any time the ball can rebound, and then you can turn to be defenders. So yeah. So
taking a look at that, there is something else about this game. If you don't have the large pitch, you can go down in terms of the size of the team.
Oh yeah.
Yes, it's allowed. Depending on the number of players, that will determine the size of the pitch to be used. So anyone can play this sport. For me, when it comes to sport, the first thing, you need to love it. That is the number one. You just need to love the sport, and the rest will follow. Because Tchoukball is not a hard game to learn. It's very easy. It's a game that if I take you through a 15 minutes training, you'll be playing the sport. That's the fun about it. When it comes to running and the movements, We can always adjust with the timing, with the category that's playing. You see, when you're playing the young, we can't delegate the same as the people, the old age. So that's the advantage of the sport. Everything can be customized depending on the type of players playing the game. Yeah.
So, duration of the sport now?
Standard, it's 45 minutes. That means a set of 3, 15, 15, 15, with a break of 5 minutes. For seniors, for juniors, it's 12 minutes. And for the juniors, KBC, it goes for 10 minutes. The one set for 10 minutes. Yeah.
And what about for the intermediate? It's 12 minutes. How many sets do they go through?
They go through 3 sets.
3 sets.
Yes.
That's what 36 minutes.
Yeah, 3 periods. Yeah.
So 3 periods of that. Here is now the next thing. When the sport was brought into the country, it was the first place where this was played. You know, getting people to get it involved.
For the sport to come to Kenya, it came through the current president, Mr. Kennedy Miriku. He got to know about the sport when they had an exchange program in the UK. He was a student of Starehe Boys, so that's where they learned about Tchoukball, and then they came back to Kenya and started Tchoukball at Starehe Boys Center. So that's where it's all started.
Well, and they should be shouting loudest, Starehe. Make the noise.
Yes.
Because this is a game that, you know, everyone would do it. So it started in Starehe.
Yeah.
How then did it spread out?
So there are about 93 coaches and about 18 referees. So people were trained on the coaching, and it spread to different regions in Rift Valley, in Nandi County. Now we are based. We also did one with Utawala Stars, so particularly in Utawala and Embakasi. So in different regions, and we also did a coaching course last year, and people from different areas, including someone from Siaya. So yeah, so we are trying to grow the game around.
All right, so let's, for example, okay, you've come here dressed in your Utawala outfit now. So talk about getting the game there, and you know how much space is required and how it's picking up, and the competitiveness.
I'll say for now, as my brand, Utawala Stars is my brand. That I'll say. For me, getting into Tchoukball, it came through I'm doing research on sports. Giving people alternative sports to play, because we've concentrated on other sports while not everyone can play. That's how I came in to learn about Tchoukball. When I learned about Tchoukball, that's when I tried getting engaged with the people to know more about the sport. We got a coach from Brazil who resides in UAE. He's called Julio. He came into Kenya last year in April. We did a one-day course with like 30 coaches within Nairobi from different areas. From there, we were able to form 2 teams from Kenya that represented Kenya in the African Championship, which was held in Uganda last year. So from there, during the tournaments in Uganda, we trained as referee and coaches under now the International Tchoukball Federation, with the president of the international body, Mr. Chris Hung. So that's how we are developing the sport. Now we are working on having a calendar for this year, where we'll be having our first major sport event on April 16th, which is our Founders Day. We are working on schools. The event will be purely on school teams, both primary and high school.
So I'll be coming to that, about the national team. For you to pick a national team and go play, for example, an African championship in Uganda, there has to be a selection process. I'm sure you are here when one of the things mentioned was selection has to be above board by the cabinet secretary. So you could tell us how this was reached, and you could travel to Uganda.
Okay, so there's a team that was training currently, because here in Nairobi, so we had to pick from what we had back then. But now looking forward, because you're supposed to represent the country in Czech Republic, because we are number 2 in Africa in the ATC Uganda. So we are supposed to now come
number
from
1 team?
number 2.
No, the number 1 team was...
Number 1 team was Cameroon, yeah. So we are looking to now base in it in other regions so that we can select a team that can now represent the country from each and every area. Yeah.
Okay, so ideally to do that, the kinds of competition that you've mentioned one in April, but how do you then build on, you know, just so that people, not just training, there is that what did I call it? There is a much fitness that comes with you being in the real game situation. How you do get that?
Okay, so we're looking into, as she said, we're supposed to come up with a calendar, so we're looking forward to set up maybe a championship, and then from there we're able to select a few people, and then maybe we can do 2-3 championships or 2, particularly, so that maybe in May or June we can now select the team, and then from there we can be able to now focus on the team. Yeah.
All right. Now, working with schools, because it started in a school, interesting.
Yes.
But it is not as well known as the school where it started, Starehe. What's been the response from the people running schools? Because eventually, because I mean, we just had a conversation here, and it's quite clear that going forward at junior high school, sport and physical education is going to be mandatory. What do you work with? Because if you go to a public school, eventually you'll have to get in touch with the Ministry of Education so that it's understood. What's the plan?
For me, I'll say working with the schools is not as hard as it looks, because so far I've interacted with a few schools doing other sports. When you go to a school and you sell your idea on what you're doing, they're always ready to listen, ready to give you a tryout. So it won't be a hassle for schools here. Because so far, I'll say I've talked with these 3 schools, and they're ready to start, ready to see how the kids will accept the sport, because it all starts with the kids. Will the kids love it? Once the kids love it, that is the end. And you see, when we start our first championship in April, getting to the other areas will not be as hard, because now people will already know these sports exist, kids are doing it, and this is a response here.
Playing spaces is one thing that everyone, is looking for. Playgrounds disappeared. There are people who've anonymously fenced off areas so that children can play. Others are using their own land to set up playing areas. Where do you get the spaces to get that court that's 27 by 15?
I went to one school. They don't have a field. But what the head teacher told me... how do you have a school without a field? Yes.
No, I mean, seriously.
Yes, we have schools without field.
How is that even allowed?
Yes.
How is that even allowed?
It's happening. Yes.
No, it's not a computer college. That is the only place you don't
know what the head teacher told me? What you can do is, we can be using the dining room. So people are ready to give options. So there are options you can use, because for Tchoukball, it's a game that can be played anywhere. It doesn't have like a specific type of ground that the game should be played on. Yes. So that's the advantage of the sport. Ideal surface? Because... ideal surface, I'll say it's a rubber. You see the mat for taekwondo.
Yes.
Yes, that's the ideal meaning.
The ideal surface.
Yes, because of the knee, because it affects the knee. You need knee pads when you're playing the sport, especially now when you're defending. You will kneel down most of the time. Yes.
Okay, so even with the pictures that we have, and you could take us through some of these things and the movements, and where you need to work on your strength, where you need to work on your conditioning, and make sure that you're well protected. Brian.
Okay, so for me, I would say, based on the videos you're seeing, particularly we need to do more on defending. When I'm going low, and we had very little time to train for this championship, because we trained for about 2 to 3 months. But we are not frustrated. It was an opening door for us, because we got to see other teams participating, particularly even for the men's team. And I would say we need to work more on fitness also, and also how it's a game of tactics, and it requires a lot of skills. You can just jump, and like volleyball, and there are different ways you can.
I mean, you're simply saying that if I get the ball within the 3 seconds, I can lift it and spike.
Yeah. It depends with you. How flexible are you? how tactful you are, and how eager are you to learn the game also. So yeah.
That is the first one. Now, understanding the full rules, because you've got the Tchoukball training manual. Just take us through that. I mean, the key things in that manual.
Okay,
and
so,
once you take us through that, there is another one here, the referee's handbook. So let's start with the training manual.
So for this one, you begin by maybe the intro, and then it begins with the warm-ups. We do warm-ups because it's a game that involves full body. So you have to make sure you really warm up, and you warm up in a way that you'll not get injured. And then you also have to stretch after the warm-ups, and make sure you stretch for the required time. Then after that, now we go to the basics. How you throw the ball, how we start by how we pass to each other. Then from passing, we work on the movements towards the goal. And then from shooting, we work on defending. And then
let's just take us through that. So if I have got this ball in my hand, and which is, if you're going to do the passing, what's allowed, what's not allowed? So actually, here is the ball, so that you can actually demonstrate through that.
You start by the left leg is on the ground first when you're receiving the ball, and then you have to make 1, 2, 3 steps, and then throw. If you're using your right hand, and if you're left hand, you have to stand with the left leg so that you don't confuse the movement. So you're receiving with this, so you have to do 2 steps and then throw. So at any point you're receiving the ball, make sure your left leg is ahead.
That's okay.
Or if you're on the air, make sure you stand by your left leg, one leg up like this.
Left leg.
Left leg.
That's a rule.
It's no, it's not a rule, but it's advisable. It's an advantage. If you look at one of the best teams is Taiwan, and if you look at the way they play, most of the time the left leg is the one which is in front at any point.
Because it's a natural pivot for.
Yes.
And most of them,
if you're right-handed.
Yes.
If
you're left-handed,
it's the opposite.
It's the opposite. So it has to be the right. But you make sure you don't confuse the movements. So at any point you receive the ball, so you go the 3 steps, and then you're supposed to pass. So when you pass in, you try to receive the ball in a nice way. And then as you're the one passing, supposed to look at your teammate and make sure like he's at a good place. So when you throw, at any point if you're near the frame you can score, but it's advised for movement at least, because it's a teamwork it's a teamwork sport. So at any point utilize the 3 moves, then shoot. And then now defending, you have to go lower, and then depending with the angles, there's where we defend here, there's where we defend in this side, depending with the angles from the frame. There's an angle I can hit the frame, let's say 90, there was 90, there's 10, and then there's 30. So from the 90 degrees, I'm supposed to start here, and then here, and then the last one is here down. And then there is angles like the 0 angle, let's say you're directly here, so you have to get a point that you hit the ball, it rebounds and hits the other side. And then the catch of this game is if I'm shooting from that side, most of the time the defenders are supposed to go the opposite side of the frame. So if you're coming from this side, the defenders are supposed to line up from here, and then look at the angle he's shooting at, so that you can know where to defend. So
So here's a frame. Let's just use this book here. Let me try use it as a frame. So, and ideally there is what you've called
the forbidden zone.
The forbidden zone. So send the ball, hit the frame, and it lands outside of the zone. So how much, for that bounce to happen, how do you check this net?
The net
on the frame. The net on the frame, because it has to have some reflexive angle action.
The net. It's a special net, like is a trampoline.
Yeah.
That kind of fabric is the one that's used to make the nets. So that when the ball lands there, it will automatically rebound. Because you see now for Tchoukball when you're playing, as we say, it's a game of 3. You can only make 3 passes to your 3 teammates, not more than 3 players. And also, you only have 3 seconds with the ball, and you can only make 3 steps with the ball. And for you to score as an attacker, the ball needs to hit the frame and then bounce outside the ribbon, the forbidden zone, for you to score. And that a defender can also score when you shoot. How is that? If as an attacker you throw the ball and it goes outside the frame, it's a point to the defender.
So ideally, that is like, for example, that is the equivalent of making, if you score over the bar. It's not a goal kick.
Yes,
it's actually a point for your opponent.
For the defending team.
Yes, for the defending team. So which means it's accuracy.
You have to be accurate. There's what we say, you have to communicate with the frame at all points. You have to communicate because you have time at times. Maybe you've done the 3 steps, it's time to shoot. Now you have to look at the frame, you know where the frame is. Because at any point you miss the frame, it's a point to the defending team.
So that means...
You have that 1 meter by 1 meter.
So that means if it goes here...
Point to the defender.
Here, the
Same
defending
point.
side.
Yeah. At any side.
At any side, which means there are 3 of them. So I have to be within this.
Yes.
What happens when the ball falls within the forbidden zone? That bounce off the angle.
It's a point to the defender as well.
So, what? All right. So how much risk is it to be very offensive? I mean, if your offensive skills are not working for you. Because I've already seen how a team can go 4-0 against you just by 4 violations, just by going on either side, the top, and bouncing within the zone.
Actually, it's a game that every 20 to 30 seconds, a team has to score. If they are very well skilled, every 20 to 30 seconds, a team scores. So it's a very fast game. So at any point, an attacker throws the ball, it reflects to the net, and then he or she is supposed to make sure the ball goes outside the forbidden zone. And you're supposed to throw a skill that you know the defender does not touch the ball. Because at any point the defender touches the ball, he becomes an attacker now. You attackers now form the defensive unit.
Is there a start-stop, or you have to do it in...
Automatically.
Automatically?
It's automatical. It's automatic.
So kama amjajipanga,
no maana kuna formation.
So that means you must be 3 of you at this point, around this place, all the time. 3 at the other side, and you've got your center.
Now the two, you know, it's normally it's 2 attackers, so the attackers turn to be defenders. So the 2 attackers and then 1 support. And then the support is supposed to talk with the center. So at any point, maybe you, like when we were playing Cameroon, there were 2 ladies from both sides. They were very skillful. They knew where to hit. So at some point, I had to task 3 people on one side. And it worked in our favor. However, they've played the game for a while, so it reached a point they were able to now learn, we've noticed. Now we had to invent a new challenge.
Well, that is the coaching side, the tactical side. It's a sport where ideally you get to benefit from the errors of your opponents. And consistently so. But they've got to keep moving from one end of the pitch to the other for the frame. Now, we've got the referee handbook here. And she is a referee. She's officiated at international events. So, Caroline, take us through this.
When it comes to refereeing, in one single match, we have 3 referees. 1 at each frame, and the official referee at the center of the game. For us, what we look at when you're refereeing, it's the movement of the players. Like now, if our player moves more than 3 times, you will give up this sign.
That is a travel sign in basketball.
Yeah.
So it's the same one.
It's the same one, whereby now that team has to leave the ball there for the opposite opponent to take the ball. Any mistake, it's a favor to the opponent team. This ball is not supposed to touch from knee. It's an offense as well. You are not supposed to intercept a throw. That's why it's a zero game. Yeah, it's a zero contact game. So you can't intercept. When an attacker has the ball, you can't intercept when the attacker is throwing the ball to the teammate. It's an offense. Also, you can't come close to an attacker who has a ball. We will call that distraction, which will give this sign.
Okay.
Showing you distracted.
Distraction, yeah.
Then when it comes to the scoring part, you have the forbidden zone. You can't pass there holding the ball. You can't enter the D with the ball.
Okay.
By the time you're getting into the D, the ball should have been released from your hand.
Very much. Yeah, that's the same way. I think I would say handball's match the same way.
Yes. And then when you're throwing the ball, when you start the game starts outside the frame. You can't, if you step on the line, the game, it's a foul, the ball goes to the opponent.
And how much space then do you give them for them to restart? Because
it's not a game, it's a game of time.
Basically, because it's a game of time, yes, 2 seconds. But if this is the D across here, if I just pick the D, how far away from the D does somebody stand?
No, you just need to be just away from the line.
Outside.
Just away.
Yeah.
Just away from the line.
Yeah, just away from the line. And now when you're scoring, also when you throw the ball and it lands on the forbidden, it's your opponent's advantage.
It's a foul. It's a foul.
Yes. A foul that gives the opposite team an advantage.
So, if I am shooting,
yes.
If you want to shoot, can I block you?
No, you can't block me.
So that is considered now another pass.
Now,
no.
As she said, you have
it's a distraction.
You have to move when, as I said, when the attacker is scoring, defenders are supposed to be on the other side, away, because when you're there, that's obstruction. When you stand in front of someone who's scoring, that's obstruction at any point.
Okay, now here's the thing, because let me just get the competitiveness of this. So I need to know eventually at the end of it all, since if I'm scoring and the frame's here, the attackers are supposed to move to which side? My left or my right?
The attackers won't be there. Your teammates
Sorry, the
won't
defenders.
Be there. If you're scoring on your right, if you have the ball and you're on your right, the defenders will be on the left, waiting for the ball. So you need to throw the ball at an angle where they don't touch the ball.
So it bounces off and comes just back onto the field of play.
Yes.
I have my point.
Exactly.
Well, now that how then, Brian, do you get someone to understand how to deflect the ball on that trampoline or the frame?
So we have trainings based on there are trainings of angles. I was trying to show you.
Yes.
And then
this,
then this. And then there are times if you have the 3 moves, I can move in a way that I'm scoring, but I'm not scoring. When you ball, we used to call it kushtua. And then I give, because you're on the other side, I give the ball to you. And you see, maybe you had drawn the defenders one side.
Yes.
So if I give you back the ball and maybe one side is open, you are free. Your area is free. So at any point, mostly when you hit the frame from the center, definitely most of the time the ball will come back to the center. But if you're on the sides, on the flanks, make sure at any point we emphasize on scoring from the flanks.
Yes.
Yeah. So that and then there are different angles that but that one you have to now train for it. Yeah.
Okay. So and even looking at it, what's now the plan? To take it to more places, make it more popular, play it around. have Sunday leagues, things like that. Start with what we'll call it. Most sports start as a recreational sport before it gets to a competitive one.
I'll say for now, we are focusing on starting in schools. So from schools, that's when we'll now grow to other areas. We'll focus first in Nairobi. Now from Nairobi, we can now start going to other counties, because we have one challenge when it comes to Tchoukball, the frame. It's special. It's not just any frame, because as you've heard, the net is a trampoline type, so it's not locally available.
What to bouncing castle?
People who
do that business, they have that.
I don't know if Lighty know that, but maybe it's something they need to venture on later.
Yes, because you see, we don't have any nets available in Kenya. So if we have to get nets, it has to be through imports. So that is cost. For the frames, we've so far tried with Eastlands College of Technology, and they produced a very nice frame, which was certified by the FIBT. It can be used. So now we're just looking at people who can join
it's very interesting for me that an education institute is actually offering a solution to sports.
Yes. Yeah.
And actually in Africa, there are no people who make frames.
So that means these guys have the edge.
Yes.
So us now,
Kenya,
we have the edge.
When we went to Uganda, our frame was certified, and it was sold to South Sudan. So South Sudan are using our frame from Kenya. So it's a business opportunity as well for the country.
Yeah, it's a great. The sporting ecosystem is out, has got more things than just the athletes and everything.
Yeah.
That institute, how apigiwa makofi.
And then it's a game that the frames, you can just put them in the car. Maybe you're going with your friends, you can go play. It's also a game that teams are using, like the Netherlands team were using it as a warm-up game. So it's a game that you can use it to warm up. Yeah.
Sawa. Thank you very much. I think the next thing, pay a visit to the institute, so that they talk about that frame. It's if you'd have come with it, would have had a demo.
Yeah.
And basically see how it bounces without doing much damage to equipment.
I think that's
expensive equipment around the studio.
That's an invitation we can do. As we start our school training, we can call you up for an invite to come and see how the game is played now on the ground.
All right.
Yes.
We'll do that and get the story told. Play the game is always on Game On. My name is Daniel Wahome. Thank you very much, Caroline and Brian, for being with us as we talk about Tchoukball. Quite an interesting sport, and we've certified equipment made in Kenya. It's the kind of stories we want to hear. Thank you for being with us for the past 2 hours. Now, I hand over to Nancy Okware, who's coming in on Kurunzi Mashinani, and let's get the news from the counties.